Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles podcast. I am Tats, and I am here solo right now. And it was just last night was one of those games, and I'm going to try to get through this show. I don't know how long we're going to go for today. But last night was only the fourth series loss that the Yankees have had, and they still have that 13-game lead in the division. So, although it was very heartbreaking to lose a series to a team like the Reds, it's still baseball. And it's like we said the last couple shows, it's going to happen. You're going to have issues where it's just not clicking. The offense came up clutch at some moments. We'll break that down. We'll get into Cortez, bullpen collapse, and quick thoughts on the upcoming series with Boston. So the way I'm looking at it is you had an issue where you have Luis Castillo pitching for the Reds, Nestor Cortez Jr. pitching for the Yankees, and it started out like a really classic, fun pitches duel. It took a couple of innings for the Yankees to get their first hit from Rizzo, but LeMahieu was working some walks. The everybody else was kind of making it very easy for Castillo. And his audition, for what I see, is an audition to Brian Cashman. And I think Cashman, after last night, I think Castillo's price went up a little bit for them. And it's going to be interesting to see what type of prospects that the Reds look at if Cashman does follow through with that phone call for the trade deadline. And I think Peraza is going to be the guy because we all know that they're not going to get rid of Volpe's not going to be available. They're not even going to listen to it, especially after the offseason where they passed up on a lot of shortstops, banking on the fact that Volpe was only going to be a year or so away. They didn't want to get into any long-term deals because they have so much promise on Volpe, which put a little unnecessary pressure on him. But Volpe in the minor leagues, it seems to be rising to the occasion. So we'll see how that all plays out. With Nestor Cortez, really quick. And the problem with this, with Nestor, is this is not even a problem. What I saw last night from Nestor is that was the most comfortable he's looked at on the mound in a while. And we weren't getting the long-winded in between pitches. He wasn't pacing. He was staying on the mound. He kept his foot on the rubber. He was ready to pitch. And that was something that we saw more from him when he was early season Nestor and was really putting up good numbers and shutting down offenses and pitching to, the ace-like status that we had put on him in his first handful of starts. It was not the best game for the offense. It really wasn't. There were a lot of issues. And the big problem was they were facing a really good pitcher in Castillo who was just locked in. He's been, if that was the way that he was pitching under pressure, like Rob and I were talking yesterday, if that was the outing that he put out with all that pressure, then it was going to be one of those games where we this is what we expect. We're going to expect from him if they do make that trade. Donald, how's it going today?
Not happy. I'm not happy.
Yeah,
I'm furious.
That was tough.
I'm furious.
Before you came in, one of the things that I was bringing up was the fact that was one of Nestor's better performances over the past month. He looked a lot more comfortable on the mound. He wasn't pacing in between pitches. He was just ready to go. He was locked in, ready to go. And that was the body language that we saw when he was dominating lineups and pitching to an ace-like status. You know?
Yeah. Nestor was great.
Yeah, you're at some technical difficulties again. It's the other problem was I know that Loaisiga was available. I'm kind of thinking that because the bullpen was so taxed that they called him up a game or two too early. and he just really wasn't as ready as we were all led to believe. So it made it really difficult for him to get comfortable on the mound. The velocity was there. He just didn't have the command, and they were hitting some tough. They were fouling off some tough pitches. They made contact with some tough pitches. You know, and it was just Loizaga just wasn't ready at all, and it was just added to the frustration. But the offense was coming through late. The offense was coming through late, and the bullpen just kind of blew it. And for most people that do not know, they just saw a new face come on the screen. And as soon as he gets his mic unlocked, we will get him going. So, just Alfonso, make sure you unmute your mic, and then we'll get you in the conversation. So, what did you think that Donald? Did you think Loizaga was? Are you ready there, Alfonso? How's it going?
Okay, can you hear me?
I hear you now. All right, thanks for joining us. So, Alfonso is a coworker of mine and a diehard Boston fan. So. He's one of the biggest Yankee fans I know, and I enjoy talking to him all the time. So, Donald, this is my friend Alfonso. Alfonso, this is Donald.
Hey,
buddy.
We'll catch up a little bit later on in the show. But what did you think of the way that the bullpen just it keeps imploding in these games? Alfonso, your thoughts on the bullpen?
Well, I believe the bullpen, they wasn't using it right. I believe they should have. That he did try. He tried to put Holmes as far as the closer, but the closer was technically hurt and he came back. And when he came back, he put him as the pitcher before the closer, I think it was.
Yeah, they brought in. No, they didn't use their closers yesterday. Holmes was unavailable. King was unavailable. They had Chapman warming up in the 10th just in case they were able to push it. But they used Loizaga. They used Abreu. And it just wasn't working. It really wasn't. Donald, you were at the game yesterday. Was there something that you were able to see from your perspective of what was going wrong with the pitching?
Well, Boone didn't use any high leverage relievers yesterday, and that's what annoyed me. I think that they were planning ahead for the Boston series, and they can't use people 3 days in a row, so they ran out Abreu and Litke and Loizaga. And I mean, listen, Loizaga looked horrible. He looked terrible. You could tell from the very first batter where he bounced two pitches, and then the next pitch was lined. I was like, oh, he's done. And we should have had somebody warming up right then and there after the three batters, but no, Boone just let him go for an undistinguishable amount of time until he completely imploded. I don't think the Yankee fans helped him because the whole stadium started doing the wave multiple times while Loizaga was he was just about to wind up and deliver the pitch, and there was just wave after wave after wave, and I'm thinking, and I was shouting, "Stop it! Just stop! Just let the guy focus." But no, the fans just had to do their thing. There was a lot of tourists there yesterday, but I think that kind of maybe distracted him. But I think I'm probably finding an excuse for him. Loizaga looked terrible, looked absolutely awful, and he looks shot. I don't know what's happened to him. I'm really angry about yesterday losing like that, and the fact that Gleyber Torres hit the miraculous 2-run home run to get us back in the game, and then Boone once again didn't use any high leverage relievers. That was your opportunity, man. You got the game right there. Just put in King, put in Holmes. Well, we've got an All-Star break coming up. Let them rest then. planning ahead for a series where you don't know what the outcome's going to be is kind of futile to me. You've got a game right now. There's 40,000 people at the game right now.
Right.
So manage the game for right now rather than what you don't know what's going to happen a couple days from now. That's what really pisses me off. Really does.
Yeah, I think those things. I think they was planning ahead. They wasn't thinking about that series at all.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
Yeah.
and that was their biggest problem last year was they kept planning ahead, not planning in the moment. So
Right.
this is where we saw it was a really a mixed pot of Yankee baseball yesterday. You had the solid starting pitching that we've come to expect this year, and we've been missing. You had the comeback clutch hits, the home runs. So you had you were able to get that together. You had the bullpen imploding, and Donaldson had to come out of the he comes up to pinch hit for Gonzalez. He gets hit in the hand. So then now Falefa's got to come in to pinch run. So now you in one pitch you depleted your whole bench. So as the game went on, now you have nobody to call on for if you do need a pinch hitter or a pinch runner. You didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate. And I know the hit by pitch, you can't, Boone can't control that.
Right.
So you can't put the blame on Boone because there was nobody left on the bench.
But everybody I was with didn't want that pinch hit in the first place.
No, it didn't make sense.
Gonzalez,
Especially, you know what pissed me off about that pinch hit?
Marwin Gonzalez did something special the whole out bat prior.
Exactly. A 14 pitch walk.
Unbelievable.
Right. And you sit him the next at bat. That
was
where Boone lost the game.
It was just so stupid. Like what Marwin Gonzalez, that was incredible at bat. What more could he have done?
Yeah. The other thing is just the way that the offense was able, that eighth inning from the Yankees. Alfonso, I was texting you last night, while we were watching, and that was exciting. That really was an exciting inning.
Right.
It was, you watched the first, it was so frustrating in the eighth to see the Weisiger implode. And then, like we've seen multiple times throughout the year, the offense comes up and goes, "I've got your back,"
right.
And was able to tie the game up. And then, Donaldson gets hit. We just talked about that situation, And then in the top of the ninth, they bring in Abreu, and he plunks the first guy. That I thought that was just that was gutsy. Now
I like that. That was ballsy.
That was. I'm sorry. I know that Abreu does like to work on the inside of the plate. That was a plunk.
Yeah, of course it did.
Yeah, that's a payback. Absolutely.
But Abreu also has to be, it could have really come back and bit him in the ass if that runner came around to score.
Correct.
It ended up going into extra innings, but that really could have backfired. You're in a tight game in the rubber match of a series. I don't care who it's against. Right. You don't, in the top of the ninth, you don't put your leadoff guy on. So it was bad timing to plunk him, but it was, you almost saw his body language. He's like, you almost looked at the dugout, Donaldson going, "I got you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was ballsy, man. That doesn't happen. Like, didn't happen last year. We didn't have people fighting for each other last year.
Yeah.
This year, you've got a really tight locker room, and they had Donaldson's back, and that was awesome. It was ballsy because it could have gone really wrong, but I like Abreu's balls right
there.
Yeah. So I want to take a little side trip here, and for some of the audience that obviously this is Alfonso's first time guest, being a guest with us. What is your overall feeling been about how the Yankees have played this year?
Well, the way they're playing right now, let's say this year, I should say, the way I feel like as a team, they're playing like a team now. Like last year, they wasn't as together as tight. You'd see in the dugout, they're watching the game, they're hugging each other, watching the game. They're talking to each other, they communicate with each other. Even the new guys are coming in. that came in, like the new catcher that we have, all those guys are communicating better. That's where, I feel like we could go further than last year if we stay healthy and we keep the same team camaraderie that we have right now.
Yeah. Now, what do you think of the comparisons with this team to '98? You think it's a fair comparison, or it's only the first half of the year that really?
Yeah, I think it's too soon for that. The reason why I say it's too soon for that, because those guys in '98, technically, they was battle proven in the sense that you see them come through in big moments, and they got the ranks to say, okay, like Jeter, for example, he clutch play. You come up, those guys will show up in big moments. These guys have not got battle tested yet as a group, so you don't know what's going to happen. Like, for example, when I went to Boston and played those 4 games in Boston, the last 2 games we could have won those 2 games.
Yep. That series could have been a sweep. They should have at least won 3 out of 4.
Absolutely. You should never have especially playing on the road, and you get ahead. You got to try to stay ahead. When you playing on the road and you're playing from behind, and you don't have the road experience, they're going to come back and bite you.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of good points there, Alfonso. I don't think this team is comparable to '98. '98, as you say, battle proven. Derek Jeter, Posada, Martin. They're some of the greatest players we've ever had in the history of the game. For me, this team is quite flawed. This current team is very flawed. But what I will say is that I love the chemistry in the locker room. I think they're fighting, and I think they play slightly above their level, because
get in there. Yeah,
I think we're over relying on Aaron Judge and Stanton in many ways, because half this order does not hit. Half this order has no contact ability whatsoever. I mean, Carpenter's been a godsend, because if we didn't have Carpenter right now, you know what I mean? It's quite crazy. I'm worried about half the batting order, as I was at the start of the year, and now you're starting to see why I was worried about the bullpen, and why I think we need bullpen arms, because this bullpen is imploding before our very eyes, and also with Severino getting hurt, it once again shows that it was very, very risky to go into the regular season with guys that haven't pitched a full year. There's a couple of them haven't pitched a full year. Tyon hasn't pitched a full year, and you're starting to see him starting to slow down a little bit, giving up a ton of runs. Severino's hurt. It's now, that's why I had these concerns going into the year. It's taken a while for the concerns to come to fruition, but you're seeing it now. So yeah, I don't think there's any comparison to the '98 team, apart from the fact that there's a really good chemistry.
Exactly. Like Loaziga, he came in, to me, that was his first game back from injury.
Yeah.
So, he's gonna get better.
I hope so. He looked terrible yesterday.
Yeah,
injured, he might come back. He might get better.
Well, that's why I was saying. That's what I was saying in the beginning of the show. It was one of those. If the bullpen wasn't as taxed and exhausted as they were, and depleted, you wouldn't have seen him for another game or 2. I think they rushed him back up because they needed somebody out of the pen.
Also, Boone wanted to see what he had, because remember, he's thinking ahead already. He's thinking about his balls.
That's what it was. That was exactly what it was, man. I think it was mostly to do with the fact he was planning for Boston.
Exactly.
That's why I completely disagree with that strategy. It just really annoyed me. I mean,
I didn't say that. I'm just trying to figure it out.
There's 40,000 paying customers who paid a freaking fortune to go to that game yesterday. To watch your manager not manage the game for right now, that annoyed me, and I'm still upset about it.
Right.
Yeah.
They know that's a team that you might have to face to get through the division. So They want to make sure they send a message to them because they
Buck
just lost.
Showalter doesn't do these things. Buck Showalter has his best guys if there's a chance to win a game. That's just what happens. And look how good the Mets are this year.
Exactly.
I think Boone can learn a lot from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Buck's also not, doesn't have the luxury of a 13-game lead in the division.
That too.
So you're able to be. I don't want to use the word complacent because I really don't think that the Yankees are complacent with where they are, and because right now you're playing your season out to make sure that Game 7's in your park,
right?
So because you don't want to have to go, you don't have to play Game 7 in Houston,
right?
And that's just going off of where everything would land right now if the postseason started. So. Right now it's looking like Yankees and the Astros and the ALCS.
Right.
But when you have a 13-game lead, you can relax a little bit, and maybe But the problem with underestimating your opponent is this series reminded me of last year's series against Detroit. And this was that was a series where Rob Donald and I we lost our minds when we got swept by Detroit. Because it was such a winnable series, and it was all lined up for us to be able to kind of keep the pedal to the metal, and they kind of took the series off. That's how this series felt. It felt like Boone took this one off.
Well, no question.
Yeah.
Talking about the leading, the Astros. The Yankees don't have 13 games lead over the Astros, though.
No.
In the definitely don't.
And as far as best records concerned, because say for example, if the Astros end up with a better record than the Yankees, they will have to go to the Astros because Astros have home court advantage. Am I correct?
Exactly. And the Astros beat our asses the last time we played.
Exactly. So right now they might have 13 or 14 games over Boston and Tampa Bay, but as far as the Astros concerned, I think they don't have 3 or 4 games in front of them.
Yeah, it's 3 or 4.
Exactly. So they can afford to lose and go and get a record that's not better than Astros if we're thinking about playing them for the AL East final. You know what I'm saying?
And frankly, if the Yankees don't make any changes, and then they play the Astros are gonna walk that series. The Yankees can't beat the Astros with this team. Not a chance.
Especially with the pitcher that we have. I mean, as far as batting is concerned, we might get away with 2 games, but as far as 4-game series, 7-game series, they can't beat them 4 games with with the pitchers that they have.
Not a chance.
No, they have the depth.
Yes, but
we've already seen them hit us.
Yep.
And then beat us 3-1.
Why are you gonna keep bringing that game up?
Because I'll never ever forgive them for that. It was disgraceful. That was disgraceful.
The game that they beat us, we didn't have Larraziga, and I believe we have another pitcher coming back from injury. Castro just came back from injury.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So those pitchers might make a difference if they show up. Like I said, you got to show up for big moments. And
Castro stinks too.
Yeah. So, Alfonso, with the trade deadline coming up, between how important is it for Cashman to move on from Gallo and try to ship him off somewhere, even if they have to eat some of the money?
Well, that depends on what they get for him. You know what I'm saying? You could, if they get a good pitcher or a decent pitcher for Gallo, I believe it could work. But they got to go. If they can't give up Gallo's he might not be hitting now, but he's a good defensive player. He got an arm in the outfield. But as far as batting, he's slugging right now. He's not hitting right now. But you're gonna trade him. You got to see what you can get back.
Well, I read an article in Daily News that Gallo's I think he's got the lowest value in the league right now because he's batting 160.
Exactly.
He's just imploded as a Yankee. His bat is slow. He's striking out a higher percentage than he did, which was already a crazy percentage in Texas. Is actually even higher now. And his walk percentage is down, and his power has just completely disappeared. And he didn't even play particularly good left field, although he did fine yesterday, but generally he's not playing particularly good left field. So he has been an absolute and utter disaster. So the Yankees will do well to get anything for him. I don't know what they could get for him. They're not going to get any high leverage relievers or pitchers or anything for him. So at the moment, it's a sunk cost, disastrous trade, embarrassment. Gallo's been an absolute and utter atrocity for the Yankees.
Yeah, if we can't get nothing for him, we might as well keep him. Because
I hope not.
It might hit a miracle home run somewhere or whatever, better than getting rid of him, and then he come back and hit us in a game or two or whatever the case might be.
We were sitting right behind him in the left field, and one of the friends I was with was giving him a hard time, right? And then this, yeah,
he deserved it though.
And this lady, this Karen in front was so offended that she went and got security.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's sad. Wow.
That's sad.
Unbelievable.
I mean, was it that bad? You know?
No, he was just shouting, "Joey, I hope you look forward to San Diego."
Okay.
That kind of stuff.
Wow.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, these Karens, man.
But I mean, that's why I said all the time. A lot of players can't play New York. New York is New York. If you come to New York, you gotta perform. You gotta have tough skin. If you don't have it, and you're gonna break over whatever the fans said, you can't play in New York.
Well, that's what made last night's outing from Castillo so impressive.
Right.
He knows that he's on the trade market.
Right.
He knows that there is a 95% chance that in the next couple of weeks, he's got a new home to go, in his career.
Right.
He comes into Yankee Stadium with the chance for his team to win a series in Bronx.
In the Bronx.
And he just shut it down. He was just lights out. And if that was ever the perfect audition, you can't do any better than that.
Yeah, but guess what? He playing under the pressure. They expect the Reds to lose. You know what I'm saying?
That's what made the beginning of the game so exciting.
Yeah.
Cortez was pitching the way that we expected him, that we want him to.
Right.
At the beginning of the year, nobody expected him to pitch like this.
He was great.
And you have Castillo on the other side pitching his ass off.
Yeah.
Wanting to he made the best case possible for Cashman to be almost like you cannot turn this down.
Yes.
He's pitching a new hitter in the 6th inning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's another one. God.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on fire. We need to do whatever it takes to make him a Yankee. He's incredible pitcher.
Is he a free agent? They go get him or what?
No, he'd still be under control for I think next year and the year after.
Okay.
Make it happen.
That's why the prospects are going to be on the high end. It's going to be take a Peraza. I think at this point, if Cashman makes a mistake of moving on from Volpe, the fan base is going to they'll mutinize him.
Right.
Because they gave up they passed up on other shortstops with anticipation of Volpe being ready sooner rather than later.
Right.
Which is why we have IKF.
Yeah.
So Cashman's going to, he's got a lot of work to do.
At the moment, Marwin Gonzalez looks the better player than IKF.
Yeah. No,
right.
I would start Marwin and have IKF off the bench.
Yep.
How that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But that is going to wrap things up for us. Alfonso, thank you for coming on, hanging out with us today.
Thanks, Alfonso.
We hope to talk to you again soon. You have been watching the Pinstripe Chronicles on Northeast Streaming Sports. You could also hear us on SportsWire Radio on sportname.com/player. Also follow us on our YouTube channel and all the social media platforms. Wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.